People with visual impairments access photos through image descriptions. A number of tools for computer-generated image descriptions of photos have recently been developed amid the proliferation of smartphones and social media platforms. This trend has led to an important research agenda of how to design image descriptions that support PVI to engage with photos across various settings and contexts. Thus far, research has mostly examined image descriptions for PVI regarding online publicly available images and where the purpose is mostly functional, such as identifying and recognizing visual elements including an object or person. What remains underexplored is the role of descriptions in the engagement with personal photos by PVI on their own devices, which may go beyond recognizing or evaluating the content. Prior studies confirm and seek to support the use of mental images by PVI to access visual information, but the mental images in these studies are typically assumed. We do not understand, for example, the relationship between image descriptions and mental images, more specifically, how information in descriptions mediate processes of constructing mental images, or how the need for constructing mental images affects the information PVI want in image descriptions. This paper attends to how the mental images that PVI use and construct out of their personal photos shape their expectations for and experiences of image descriptions across different photo activities. How could image descriptions support processes of constructing mental images of photos? Would the expectations for image descriptions vary across different photo activities? How could image descriptions be delivered? We interviewed 30 PVI in Korea with guided tours of their photos where possible to understand their expectations for image descriptions when engaging with personal photos on their smartphones and other devices. Interviews were originally designed to be in person, but we decided to conduct interviews remotely via phone or video based on concerns over the COVID-19 pandemic and privacy, such as inadvertently sharing photos or other content on their devices that did not feel comfortable sharing. Most participants were using screen reading apps such as VoiceOver and TalkBack on their mobile devices, with some participants using additional image recognition apps such as Sullivan Plus, TapTapSee, and Seeing AI that offered image descriptions. The use of these apps was heavily geared towards accessing textual information contained in photos. While blind participants tended to use image descriptions more often than low vision participants' views on image descriptions seem to be associated with their individual habits and preferences rather than with the types of visual impairments. Participants used image descriptions to construct mental images of photos. Now we describe the key process of constructing mental images and the content of image descriptions that our participant wanted across 4 types of photo activities, which are viewing, taking, searching, and reminiscing with photos. To view photos, participants constructed a mental image of the content of a photo based on image descriptions provided by screen reading or image recognition apps or their cited colleagues, friends, or family members. Participants wanted image descriptions to provide special clues on visual elements in a consistent order, such as from left to right or from top to bottom, to help them structurally visualize these elements. Participants also wanted to be able to interactively select descriptions at different levels of abstraction. Several participants commented that rich aesthetic details in image descriptions would help them produce a more vivid and personally relevant mental image, which can make the associated photo more memorable. Photo taking involved a process of constructing and adjusting a mental image of what appeared in the camera frame, and then comparing the image to that of an intended photo. For this purpose, they wanted image descriptions to offer real-time spatial clues that help them iteratively and efficiently construct and adjust mental images of the content in the camera frame. They also wanted descriptions to offer feedback on how visually less salient and particular elements appear in the frame based on their queries. Photo search activities involve the process of finding a photo whose description matches the mental image that the participant has in mind. However, participants' memory of photos that they wanted to search for was often different from the actual content of the photos. They also had trouble differentiating similar photos that were taken at the same place or in the same day. Participants often relied on the context surrounding how a photo was used on their devices, such as who sent them the photo, using which apps. Such clues were often intentionally created and leveraged to locate a photo later. Reminiscing with photos involved the process of constructing a mental image of a photo to trigger, relieve, or enrich an associated memory. Factual image descriptions often fell short of enabling participants to see how the content of a photo is personally relevant, failing to elicit or trigger a particular meaning or memory. Participants also pointed out that constructing a mental image that brings back what it was like to be there at the moment of photo taking depended on the ability to elicit the atmosphere of a photo or how they would have been feeling, which was essentially a multisensory experience. By exploring the use of photos by PBI on their personal devices, our findings highlight how image descriptions to support personal photo use are distinct from image descriptions for publicly available images or for functional purposes. To search for their personal photos, for example, we found that even accurate and detailed descriptions of visually salient objects could be inadequate since participants' mental images of the photos often differed from their actual content. Similarly, image descriptions needed to be connected to participants' memory relating to the photo for them to be useful for reminiscing. We propose several considerations when designing image descriptions to support personal photo use of PBI that goes beyond identification of objective content. First, participants did not just experience image descriptions as a list of objects or other visual elements contained in the photo, but as clues to be arranged or put together in a particular way to construct a mental image through which they could experience the photo. The process of constructing mental images of photos varied across photo activities for which participants have different intentions. Identifying such differences contributes concrete design considerations for generating image descriptions by photo activity. These considerations also indicate a need to support PBI to define and account for their own intentions and goals. For example, while research on photo support for PBI tends to suggest designer-defined guidelines for how to take good photos, participants considered it more important to take the photos that they themselves intended. Existing research has given less attention to what facilitates or limits the use of descriptions for memory. In our study, participants expressed that aesthetic details help them construct more memorable mental images of photos. Descriptions could also bring in a rich range of multisensory data on the user's personal life that could be relevant or connected to when or where the photo was taken, giving the user flexible control over what kinds of data could be used for generating image descriptions. More broadly, our study points to a possibility for a phenomenologically-informed approach to designing image descriptions for PBI. Scholars of the phenomenology of images emphasize that what matters in photos is less the content itself than people's subjective and multisensory experience of engaging with the content. Likewise, our findings indicate that PBI understand personal photos not simply as visual content to be objectively and faithfully translated into words, but as a multifaceted artifact that they can subjectively and selectively experience. Thus, the role of image descriptions for PBI might be understood as supporting the multisensory experience of what a description of visual content triggers, rather than descriptions of the objective content to substitute for missing or lacking visual input. Thank you for listening.